First look, Brad Pitt plays James Belmont in Heart of the Beast from Fury director David Ayer. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about one of the most exciting upcoming survival thrillers of 2026, Heart of the Beast, starring Brad Pitt and directed by David Ayer. The first official images have finally arrived, giving fans a look at Pitt as James Belmont, a battle-hardened Special Forces veteran stranded in the Alaskan wilderness alongside his loyal combat dog, Odin. The movie reunites Pitt and Ayer more than a decade after their acclaimed war film Fury. In today's video, we'll break down the first look images, the story of James Belmont, why this film could be Brad Pitt's most emotional performance in years, David Ayer's surprising new direction, the importance of Odin the combat dog, what makes this survival thriller different, release date predictions, and box office potential. So grab a snack, settle in, and let's dive into Heart of the Beast. Heart of the Beast is an upcoming survival adventure thriller scheduled for release in September 2026. The film follows James Belmont, a Special Forces officer who survives a devastating plane crash deep in the Alaskan wilderness. Stranded with only his combat dog, Odin, he must battle harsh weather, dangerous terrain, and overwhelming odds to find a way home. At first glance, that premise sounds straightforward. Man versus nature. Survival against impossible odds. But according to director David Ayer, the movie goes much deeper than that. He describes the film as a story about grief, healing, resilience, and the profound bond between a soldier and his dog. Rather than focusing solely on action sequences, Heart of the Beast appears to be built around emotion and character development. And that could make it one of the most unique projects in Brad Pitt's career. The newly released images immediately set the tone. The photographs show James Belmont isolated in vast, unforgiving wilderness landscapes. The scenery looks enormous. Snow-covered mountains stretch endlessly into the distance. Belmont appears weathered, exhausted, and determined. And beside him is Odin. The dog isn't presented as a side character. Instead, Odin appears to be Belmont's equal partner throughout the journey. Another image shows Brad Pitt working closely with David Ayer on set, highlighting the collaboration between actor and director. Fans of Fury will remember how effectively these two worked together in 2014. That film combined large-scale action with intimate character moments. Now they're applying that same partnership to a much smaller, more personal story. The visuals suggest a film that emphasizes isolation, survival, and companionship rather than explosive spectacle. James Belmont isn't just a random adventurer. He's a veteran Special Forces operator with decades of military experience. That background immediately changes the survival story. This isn't about an inexperienced person learning how to survive. Belmont already possesses the skills. He knows how to navigate danger. He understands discipline. He's trained to remain calm under pressure. Yet even someone with those abilities finds himself overwhelmed by the Alaskan wilderness. That's what makes the story compelling. Nature doesn't care about military training. The wilderness becomes an opponent unlike any human enemy. And as Belmont struggles physically, the movie also appears to explore his emotional scars from years of service. This combination of external and internal conflict could provide Brad Pitt with one of his richest dramatic roles in years. One of the most interesting details comes directly from David Ayer. The director has praised Pitt's performance, calling it deeply vulnerable and emotionally exposed. According to Ayer, audiences who have seen early cuts describe Pitt's work as raw, believable, and profound. That's high praise, especially coming from a director who has worked with many major actors throughout his career. What's fascinating is that Pitt reportedly performed much of the physically demanding work himself despite the challenging conditions. The role required wilderness trekking, mountain terrain, navigation, extreme weather exposure, emotional isolation scenes. Those elements demand both physical endurance and emotional authenticity. If Ayer's comments are accurate, Heart of the Beast could become another major acting showcase for Pitt. Let's talk about the true co-star of the movie, Odin. According to David Ayer, Odin isn't simply a pet. He's a fully developed character with his own emotional presence. The relationship between Belmont and Odin forms the heart of the story. Ayer explained that they constantly rescue each other throughout the film. Sometimes Belmont saves Odin. Sometimes Odin saves Belmont. It's a partnership. A friendship forged through years of service and trust. The role was primarily played by a specially trained rescue dog named Ayer, along with additional dogs assisting in production. Animal-centered films often succeed when audiences genuinely believe in the bond between human and animal. If Heart of the Beast captures that connection effectively, it could become incredibly emotional for viewers. David Ayer is known for intense films. His resume includes Training Day End of Watch Fury's Suicide Squad. Many of those projects feature action, violence, and large ensemble casts. Heart of the Beast is different. It's intimate, minimalist, focused on only a few characters. Ayer himself has said this was one of the most difficult films he has ever made because there was nowhere to hide. Without massive battle scenes or large supporting casts, everything depends on performance, atmosphere, and emotional connection. That creative challenge may result in one of Ayer's strongest films. Although the story takes place in Alaska, filming occurred primarily in New Zealand. The production utilized remote mountainous areas and glacier regions that closely resemble Alaska's rugged landscapes. According to Ayer, some locations were so inaccessible that cast and equipment had to be transported by helicopter. Certain areas offered almost no room for crew members to stand. These conditions helped create an authentic sense of scale and danger. The first-look photos already showcase breathtaking scenery. If the cinematography maintains that quality throughout the movie, audiences can expect stunning visuals. While Brad Pitt and Odin are clearly the focus, the movie also features J.K. Simmons-Sana Lamb. The screenplay was written by Cameron Alexander and produced by several notable industry figures, including Brad Pitt himself. The film is currently scheduled for theatrical release on September 25, 2026. A trailer is expected to arrive soon, giving audiences a better look at the story and tone. When people think about Brad Pitt's biggest performances, several films immediately come to mind. There's Tyler Durden in Fight Club. There's Cliff Booth in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's Billy Beane in Moneyball. And of course, Don War Daddy Collier in Fury. These are larger-than-life characters that audiences remember for years. But Heart of the Beast appears to be doing something completely different. Instead of relying on witty dialogue, charismatic speeches, or massive action sequences, this film seems built around silence. Imagine spending long stretches of a movie with only one human character on screen. No teammates. No family members. No large supporting cast. Just James Belmont and his dog trying to survive. That kind of storytelling demands extraordinary acting. The audience must remain emotionally invested even when very little dialogue is being spoken. Some of the greatest survival films ever made succeeded because the lead actor carried the entire emotional weight of the story. If Pitt delivers the kind of performance David Ayer has been describing, Heart of the Beast could become one of those films that critics praise for years. It may not be the loudest movie of 2026, but it could be one of the most memorable. Many movie fans are already comparing Heart of the Beast to some famous survival adventures. One obvious comparison is The Revenant. That film followed a man struggling to survive brutal wilderness conditions while dealing with personal loss. Another comparison is Cast Away. Like Tom Hanks' character in that movie, Belmont appears isolated from civilization and forced to depend on his own skills. Some viewers have also mentioned Alpha because of its strong bond between a human and an animal companion. Yet Heart of the Beast appears to combine elements from all of these stories while creating its own identity. The military background adds a unique layer. Belmont isn't an ordinary traveler. He's someone trained for extreme situations. That creates an interesting question. If a survival expert struggles this much, how dangerous is the wilderness he's facing? The answer appears to be very dangerous. And that's exactly what raises the stakes. According to David Ayer, the film is ultimately about healing. That statement is incredibly important. Many survival movies focus exclusively on physical challenges. Can the hero find food? Can they find shelter? Can they escape danger? But Heart of the Beast seems interested in emotional survival as well. James Belmont is not just fighting nature. He's also confronting whatever pain, trauma, and loss he carries from his past. Throughout the story, Odin becomes more than a companion. The dog represents trust, loyalty, connection, hope. These themes often resonate strongly with audiences because they're universal. Everyone understands what it means to rely on someone during difficult times. Everyone understands the comfort of companionship when facing uncertainty. That's why animal-centered stories often create such emotional reactions. When the bond feels real, viewers become deeply invested. And based on everything we've heard so far, The relationship between Belmont and Odin is intended to be the emotional center of the entire film. Let's take a moment to talk about why this reunion matters. Back in 2014, Brad Pitt and David Ayer worked together on Fury. The film earned praise for its intense action, strong performances, and emotional storytelling. Many fans considered it one of the best war movies of the decade. Since then, both men have taken very different career paths. Brad Pitt continued balancing blockbuster films with smaller prestige projects. David Ayer explored various action and crime dramas. Now, more than a decade later, they're back together. What's interesting is that Heart of the Beast appears much smaller in scale than Fury. But smaller doesn't mean less ambitious. In some ways, it's more challenging. A battle scene can impress audiences through spectacle. A survival drama has to impress audiences through emotion. That means the partnership between actor and director becomes even more important. If they can recreate the chemistry that made Fury successful, this new film could surprise a lot of people. It's still early, and no one has seen the finished movie yet. But industry insiders are already paying attention. Why? Because films centered around survival, emotional transformation, and powerful performances often become major awards contenders. Think about movies like The Revenant won 27 Hours Captain Phillips. These films gave actors opportunities to showcase the full range of their abilities. Physical endurance, emotional vulnerability, psychological depth. Heart of the Beast appears to offer Brad Pitt all three. Whether it becomes an awards contender remains to be seen. But the ingredients are certainly there. And that's one reason excitement around the project continues to grow.